Okay, wonderful. So we are live recording this session with two wonderful educators from Pakistan and Jordan. Hello, everyone. My name is Hiba Ibrahim, the program coordinator in the Amman office. I would love to welcome you to this fourth workshop, actually the last workshop of our first series of the GNG Skills Workshop. And today we would love to talk to you and hear from you and also discuss your questions on some curriculum activities. Based on interest, we'll be mainly discussing the community lens, the conflict tree, and then if we have some time, we can go back to discuss the define the problem milestone. So before we get started, we would love to introduce everyone. If you can please mention your name, your school, and where that is located, the program, the GNG program you and your students are participating in, and also maybe one thing you would like to come out or walk out with from this session. So let's start with Ali. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Aligul. I am from the City School, Bursha, participating in Global Citizens in Action. And the main thing is Global Citizens in Action is this, that now our students can understand and share their ideas properly with students abroad. Thank you.
Thank you, Ali, and welcome to the session. Abdullah, thank you.
My name is Abdullah. I'm from Jordan, Urban City. I am teacher physical education in Hassan bin Haytham School. First time in the GNG. I am excited to work in this and to learning about community and everything about that. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, and welcome again to today's session. So let's then get started with the community lens, and I would love to hear from you if you can share how you prepared your students for this activity. I assume that you either did the activity or about to do the activity with your students. And we're just interested to learn more about how you prepared your students for this activity. So, for example, what type of photos you think they need to include? What is the goal of the community lens activity, and how you prepared your students to hit that goal in posting it on GNG Connect. Thank you.
Thank you, Hiba. When I shared this thing to our students, they were very happy to see this. That it's a new thing for them. I include the photos of our school and school activities in our community labs, which were taken during different activities, just like a school assembly and some school programs and some school games. Thank you.
Thank you, Ali. So then Ali is talking about maybe covering the school life and the school society in the community lens, since their partners would be interested in learning more about you know, how this one school in Pakistan is, the schedule, and things like that. So that's also a type of photos definitely you would be including in your community lens. Thank you, Ali. Abdullah, do you have any additions? How did you prepare your students for the community lens activity?
My student was so excited about photo, and they are take picture about the schools, and the women is Arabic, and I think about Petra and Wadi Ram and Dead Sea in Jordan. They was very good about this. Just they are asking me about download a new picture about to make other country to know about Jordanian very good more.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm pausing because I'm typing for Ali as well.
Yeah.
So also to show the Jordanian culture and women, for example, or different places of the country. Thank you. So wonderful. You're highlighting some types of photos that you would love to share about your community with your partners. I think my question to both of you is, as you notice, the community lens activity comes right after the KHW chart activity. So how do you think the KHW chart can help you and your students prepare for the community lens activity? How do you think this activity will kind of ease that process for you? And what things would you have in mind while doing that chart that prepares you for that activity eventually? Thank you.
Hi, this is Ravi once again. By PHW chart, our students get knowledge about their partner country, and they prepare community lens show the culture of our country, traditions and games, and which games are played in their school. Because the community lens PHW chart of partner schools shows their games and culture, so our students thought to show their culture. Thank you.
Thank you, Ali. So definitely the chart helps you and your students learn more about their partners, the partner school. And this could also help you realize what type of questions we would love to have in our wish list, for example, for their community or their school to post pictures as answers for these photos. And I think it's very much important what you mentioned, Ali, because as you all know, the community lens activity also tackles the wish list questions that our partners have for us. So it combines both pictures that you would love to show to your community, things you're proud of, things you like, the culture, the society, the school life, as you both mentioned, and sometimes even some issues through pictures and captions. At the same time, it also helps us to answer any questions our partners have for us about our own community. So this is why we always encourage you as an organization to have a look at your partner's wish list, to read the questions really carefully, and then work with your students to take appropriate pictures you think those questions can be tackled through photos. So thank you so much, Ali, for sharing that. Welcome, Ustaz Atiyah. Can you hear? Oh, he dropped. We'll see when he's back. Abdullah, anything you want to add on that? How does the QW chart help out or anything else?
No.
Welcome, Atiyah.
Sorry for being late.
That's okay. Could you please introduce yourself to the group? Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ustaz Atiyah. I'm a teacher at King Abdullah II for Excellence, and I'm an educator at SOM Secondary School. Welcome you all.
Thank you, and welcome to this session. We have Ali from Pakistan as an GCA educator. We also have Abdullah, a campfire educator from Jordan. You both met at the professional development. So welcome, everyone. We are discussing the community Lense activity, and we're trying to see how you can prepare your students appropriately to post the community Lense activity to your partners. So, you know, as we were saying, it's very much important to take into consideration the wish list your partners have. For some programs, the community Lense will totally depend on the wish list. And for others, you need to just balance in between the community, what you want to show, and also the wish list that your partners have. So that balance is very much important. We also recommend that you keep your students in smaller groups in preparing for that activity. So can you please share more on, let's say, how you can do that? How do you think you can come up with one really good, comprehensive community Lense or photos to post on GNG Connect? And let's hear from anyone actually who's interested to share. Thank you.
Shall I speak? So I can't hear you. I don't know if you can hear.
Yes, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So after dividing after dividing the students into small groups, I may ask them to think of anything about their community or society. For example, they may choose traditional dress, they may choose wedding activities, or their typical maybe they can choose the nature in their village since they live in a rural area. They can take some pictures from the nature there, flowers, trees, or mountains. Also, I mentioned their dress for men and for women as well. And taking in regard that they should also write a caption that illustrates that.
Thank you, Atiyah. Ali, are you signing in from two laptops? Ali, can you hear me?
Yes.
Could you please then sign in from one laptop if you're signing in from two, because there's an echo that we hear. Thank you.
Sorry, I was trying on my mobile. Thank you.
That's okay. Thanks. Wonderful. So captions is definitely one important component for the community Lense activity. Always remind your students to accompany each photo with a really nice caption that shows the context, whatever types of information you would like to include for your partner based on that one photo. So definitely captions are very important. And generally speaking, for creating the gallery, I hope your students were able to access the introduction to GNG video, because it also guides them through creating their gallery and how to add pictures and captions in there. So I think I've seen most of your work, and luckily your students were successfully posting their galleries. However, if you still need support on that, you can email us and we can direct you to that video that is posted on GNG Connect already. Wonderful. So any questions actually on the community lens? Anything else that you have in mind that we did not tackle regarding that particular activity? Abdullah, I know you wanted to discuss this today. Do you have anything in mind? Any question? Thank you.
No. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Ali and Atiyah, any comments or any questions we did not tackle, you think, in this particular activity?
No, I think it's clear, because before I thought that every student has to make his own album, but it's a good idea that I know now. I realize that the whole class should make just only one album, not each student.
Yeah, thank you. And as we said, it's a constructive process. This activity comes after the wish list, the HW chart. So now they know more about their partners. They have questions for them. They viewed their questions and they're trying to answer these questions through pictures they add on the community lens. So I hope this idea is clear today. Ali, do you have any comments or questions on the community lens?
Thank you, Eva. I have so many things to ask and share. Especially, we have to make a community lens not only just for a school. We should make it for whole life of a student or life of a country. We should include all parts of our life activity. Thank you.
Exactly, yes. It does reflect the life of the community. In a way, the personal lives of the students through different types of community. So we mentioned, for example, school life. You know, how is the school day for them? What do they do? What type of subjects they study? The buildings in their school, for example. And then we go a bit outside to the actual local community where they live. So maybe something on the culture or society, maybe ruins, other places that they consider, you know, very close to them. And then you can also highlight, as we said earlier, some issues that they face in that community. Could be captured like in one picture. To give you an example, for example, I was visiting a school last week, and the students chose to have a picture of a really small restaurant, and the caption said, you know, this is the only restaurant that serves around 5,000 people in this village. So that could be, you know, a creative way of showing an issue these students live on a daily basis through taking photographs. If we don't have any other questions or comments, allow me to share my screen and maybe distribute a really good example of a community lens. I think it's very much helpful to see what we're trying to convey in conversation. I'm going to mute for a second, share my screen. Please let me know once you start seeing that. Give me a thumbs up. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Great. Ali?
Yes, Eva.
Great. Abdullah?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So I hope you could see this one here. This is a community lens posted on GNG Connect by one of our programs groups. And as you can see, these students chose to cover different activities in their school, in their community, with really wonderful, comprehensive captions. So I'm just going to go next. So as you see, there's a picture and it's really comprehensive, the type of captions they have. And I think it's key, you know, to the communication interaction afterwards among groups to have really good, you know, comprehensive context of each picture. It definitely makes the interaction, you know, more successful on the platform. So as you can see, things are sometimes are personal, activities, buildings. In this community lens, for example, you notice that the students focused mostly on their school life. And that is totally fine if their partners, you know, were mainly interested in learning more about that than anything else. So again, it's always about your partner's wish list to get back to once you create your community lens activity. So as you see here, like sports, now we talk about the country, politics, you know, presidential elections maybe. Now we talk about the US and schools. So they try to, you know, include many factors in this one community lens. So I hope that was helpful. Sorry, going back. Okay, great. Wonderful. So any last comment questions on the community lens?
Thumbs up.
Great, wonderful. Okay, so well, I just have a general question to everyone here, and this really goes to any curriculum activity that you are implementing. I wonder if you can share whether previous experience or even if it's your first time in a GNG program, how do you think you can or your partner can support in your activity implementation? What is the type of collaborative work that you would do in order to make sure you're implementing the activities appropriately and very well in general? Thank you.
Right, may I start talking? Right. So for me in the GNG, it is my first experience, and I find it great. People, it's a good chance for them, for our students and the students on the other side also to get to know each other more, to know about their cultures, their behavior, or any other thing they would like to know about each other. They can help. I also joined another program for culture and language exchange. We usually did or helped each other with many tasks. For example, we could make or analyze a song or a poem or a particular piece of literature. We can share ideas. We can go furthermore, and not just sharing pictures. And also we can solve a problem. This project has also a great ideas. There are in the next weeks we are going to talk about problems, global issues, or community problems related to each community. Try to solve, to find the reasons, the effects, and find solutions for these problems, which is good. Make students to be creative, to be one of this world, to be global. So it's a good thing. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Atiya, for sharing. Ali or Abdullah, do you have any ideas on how you would collaborate with your partner on curriculum activities? Thank you.
Thank you, Eva. I am also agree with Tia because we can get and share help with our partners in many ways. Suppose before this program, our students think that Americans are not good. They are terrorists, encouraging terrorism in Pakistan and Muslim world. All Americans are guilty. But now, after this thing, this program, our students can understand that bad and good all everywhere. And so all Americans are not bad, many are good and supportive and helpful for our country and our nation. So I think this is a good way. Through this way we can change our perception about others. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ali. That's definitely a very important factor. When you are comfortable with your partner educator approaching him or her on questions and just asking for support whenever needed, that is definitely going to reflect on your students' progress in learning in general and in the program in specific. So definitely important to establish this really good, collaborative partnership with your educator from the start. That is key to success. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, we lost Abdullah, but hopefully we can have him back. And I think we can move on to the conflict tree, which is a very important activity in Module 3. And before we get started, Ali, for example, are you a returning educator to GNG?
Sorry, Hiba, can you repeat your question?
Okay, I will type it in.
Thank you.
We were just interested in learning from also those who are returning and share their experience with the rest of us. That would be wonderful. So.
Yes, I was educated during last 2 years.
Okay.
Once I was second educator, and last time I was educator, and this time also I am an educator. Thank you.
Wonderful. So can you then share some of your experiences with the conflict tree activity with the rest of the teachers here, Ali?
Yes, Ivan, through this activity, we can show our problems and share with our partner country and partner educator and get their help. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So technically, the conflict tree is a GNG's activity in which we try to help students understand a problem better. And for those who haven't, gone that far yet, we try to talk about the roots, the trunk of the tree, and the branches. The roots being the, main, let's say, reasons behind that problem. The trunk is the ongoing problem, and then the branches are basically the effects in society of that particular problem. So, for example, if we are talking about, the refugee issue in many countries, what are the reasons? Like, why do we have this crisis? What is causing that continuous trouble? That would be your roots. And then, of course, the ongoing problem is the refugee crisis. Let's say the lack of services, whatever you want to say about that ongoing crisis goes on the trunk. And of course, the branches, again, the effects of that trouble in society. So for example, some might say maybe high rates of unemployment. Some might say, lack of education for the children. Some environmental issues as well, or lack of resources in that community. So whatever you find as effects, they go on the branches of the tree. And before we move on, I think it also would be nice to see another example of a conflict tree posted on GNG Connect. And then maybe we can also get back to our conversation here. So I'm also going to share my screen again and go right to GNG Connect. Can you all see the screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Great. So this group, for example, would you please unmute your mics so we can just focus together today? Thank you. So, for example, this group chose the issue of smoking. As you can see, after doing some research, maybe doing also on-the-ground type of research, students highlighted the causes. So why do people smoke? It could be peer pressure. It could be a way to control your anger or your temper. That's what some people think. It could be that some people find it fashionable and it's a trend and it makes you look cool. Some might feel that it's a relief, out of stress. When I smoke, I feel that I'm more relaxed or things like that. As we also see the branches, this group sees that because so many people smoke in that particular community, there's maybe a rate of depression among youth. There are definitely some health problems. There are definitely some environmental issues. There is some trouble in your relationship with your family. So these are very much general effects. You can definitely go deeper, though, with your group. You can, for example, say more about depression. You can say more about health problems and be more specific. I just wanted to give you a very general idea of how you could start off a conflict tree with your group. So let's get back now and stop sharing and talk more about your ideas of that. And maybe if you can share, how do you think this model of a conflict tree causes the trunk or the ongoing trouble and the effects? How does that help your students understand and work better for their global citizenship projects? Because technically, one of the things that you need to post on GNG Connect is the conflict tree of the problem that your group will choose to work on for the global citizenship project. So let's hear from you. How do you think this activity will help your students understand the global citizenship problem better? Thank you.
Well, since we represent this global issue, or it could be a community issue with a tree, the roots. Are you copying? Right. Okay. So the tree represents the parts of tree represents each part of this issue or this problem. For example, the roots of the tree are the main thing of the tree, that it causes the tree to grow up and becomes bigger. So the roots are the main reason for growing the tree. When we represent the global issue or the issue that we are discussing, the roots means the reasons or the causes of that may give us these results or the effects that we are going to talk about later on, right? So the roots are the main thing, and usually the tree, the branches of the tree represents the effect or what comes after the tree. I mean, how to say it? The trees, the branches, flowers, fruits are the effect of what the roots may make. This is the idea. So when we represent the effects as branches, they come out after the roots grow up inside the earth.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing, Atiye. Let's hear from Ali or Abdullah. Again, let me summarize. We said that the conflict tree is an activity that we, aim for students to get to learn more in Module 3, and that is kind of in the middle of their work on their global citizenship project. So how do you see this activity helpful for your students to prepare for or to understand that problem better? Abdullah, what do you think? Thank you.
Hello, sorry, bad connection. Hello.
That's okay. We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yeah. About the issue about smoke, I understand about smoke, you said.
So the smoking was just an example. I was just trying to show you an example of a conflict tree.
Give
so you can
them
take it
about
forward.
the root. Give them the root about also about health and about drunk about the money and people. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Give them a video or example about that. Give them about the trunk, what mean roots, what mean trunk, what mean everything about
Yes.
smoking.
Abdullah, are you still here? Abdullah? Okay, I hope we can have him back soon. Sorry for that, Abdullah. You're mentioning really good things in general, and so how then do you see yourself as an educator helping your students preparing for that activity, or maybe filling that sheet of the tree, let's say, getting to learn more about the problem or the issue? How can you support your students and prepare them to do this activity? Ali, what do you think? Thank you.
لا بخزي
شكرا لك سيدي.
والله وحياة شرف بخزي قبل شوي قاعد يسمع جملة كسر الدنيا.
أي جملة ما حكيتش.
أنا ما قلتها about your profile هذا إيش اسمه.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ali, and you can type if your connection is really bad. We don't mind reading off your comments on the chat box. Thank you.
كيف علقت الصورة؟
أستاذ عبد الله. Abdullah, can you hear me? Could you please mute your mic? Thank you. Does anyone have an idea of how you would prepare students for the conflict tree? What things you think you might do with them for them to do it, successfully? Thank you.
I have to say something.
Go ahead, Ali.
Actually, it's my first time I'm participating warmly in this type of conference. So I am hesitant. So I think we can share a problem with our students and ask them to find a problem like that and find the solution in the causes of the problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Definitely working with them for them to learn more about it. And let me share this as a GNG facilitator or platform facilitator. Usually student conflict trees in general, they do hit the basics of the conflict or the problem itself. But what we usually see is that maybe they could do further reading or finding resources for them to understand that conflict or issue better. So I would definitely encourage you all to support your students, to find resources, to learn more about the conflict, maybe interviews in the local community, read some articles, watch some videos, as Abdullah mentioned earlier, in order to learn more about that problem's causes and effects in their own community. It is wonderful to depend on our personal information, but it's also a way to help students to be, more like evidence-based type of readers or leaders. So it's very much important to urge them to find resources, share resources, and reflect them on the activity itself. So we only have 3 minutes till it's 3. I would love to give you the space for any last questions or comments, whether on the conflict tree, the community lens, or any other activity in your program. So I'm just going to pause and listen to you for now. Thank you.
Well, Ms. Hiba, first I would like to thank you so much for your efforts that you pay in this project, and we also thank you for your patience, for being patient. But just I want to ask about something relating to the collaboration or the communication between students. Are they supposed to contact or to communicate with a specific student, or they may contact with any student on the other side of the class?
Thank you so much. Definitely a really good question. And we usually on the platform, we always encourage students to approach anyone, from their peers. So if they're interested in messaging someone or, answering any other students' questions, they can definitely do that. So there is no particular way of connecting. This space is theirs. The platform is open for interaction on different levels. And we always encourage them even to not even stick to one person. It's good to, try to approach as many peers as possible. And I think that's, key to the cultural interaction we hope they get through the program. Thanks for the question. Ali, do you have any question or comments?
Hiba, I already write a comment and suggestion that we should end our outside school life, because the student spend just only 5 or 4 hours in school and 20 hours in house or society. So we should reflect our society in community life and reflect issues in community perspective, not country perspective, not community perspective. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Ali, for this comment. Definitely encourage your students to go outside, cover the community outside of the school to reflect the bigger society, the culture, where they're coming from, different backgrounds. It is also very much, helpful to include in your community lens and for your peers to have a more comprehensive understanding of your country, your culture, and society. Thank you so much, Adi. Abdullah, do you have any comment or question? Thank you. Oh, sorry, we lost Abdullah one more time. Any final question or comments, Ali or Atiyah? Other than
No,
that,
thank
we're
you.
just going to conclude the session.
Till now, it's everything is okay. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you. Ali?
Thank you all. I have also gone.
I'm very much interested to know if this session helped you in a way to have a better understanding of the activities. Did you feel that was helpful and now you have a better understanding?
I think it's great, and I suggest if you can make at the beginning of each week how or summarize or remind us about the activity that we are going to do the next week or the following week. It will be a great idea. I know it will could or make you or give you more effort or more work, but I don't know if you can do that at the beginning of each week. A good idea and a great idea.
Okay, I'll get back to that suggestion once we hear from Ali. Ali, anything you would like to share?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, in regards to your suggestion, Mr. Atiyah, thanks for the suggestion, first of all. And second of all, I think it would be sometimes challenging for a GNG facilitator to update everyone since they are on a different level of their program implementation. But we also hope that through our personal communication, we can just, go out with you based on your progress in the program. So, for example, if you're doing it on a weekly basis, we get an update, and then we see the communication or interaction on GNG Connect and advise you accordingly. So that's actually what we do as facilitators. But again, if there's any extra support needed, please approach us, and we'll try our best to find alternatives and find ways for you and your partner to also help each other in that process. Well, thank you again for your attendance. We had a small audience today, but I thought we discussed really great questions and we had wonderful comments. If you have any further questions, please do not hesitate to email me or Ali or any of the programs team. We'll be happy to get back to you via email. So thank you, everyone, and please unmute your mics, say your goodbyes, and we will see you in another session of the ongoing skills workshops. Thank you. Have a nice day.